The dig at Black Mesa Ridge had been scheduled for October because that was the only month when daytime heat settled into polite 70s and nighttime rattlesnakes began looking for burrows instead of boot shafts. The University of Arizona Field School, 10 students and 2 professors strong, erected a base camp of battered wall tents and folding tables 3 miles from an unnamed Anasazi outlier. The Bureau of Land Management labeled RM-213. Nobody in camp slept well the first week. Too much coffee, too many stars, and a wind that never shut a door quietly. On Thursday evening, Professor Ju offered extra credit. We still need night ambience recordings for the museum diorama. Anyone who brings back clean stereo ambience gets a bonus. Only Naomi Greaves volunteered. A first-year master's candidate, she carried a Tascam DR07 the way other people carried phones. Her thesis, Acoustic Signatures of Chacoan Outliers, needed raw material, and nothing screamed publishable like unbroken desert hush, punctuated by ancestral walls creaking under moonlight. 21 година, 17 хвилин. Naomi left base camp with GPS, headlamp, notebook, and recorder. The mesa path twisted between piñon skeletons and dropped into a shallow arroyo that smelled faintly of gunpowder after sundown. Professor Ju's final warning followed her into the dark. Stay on the flagged line. The old reservoir pit still swallows deer. 21:43. Low walls emerged, knee-high sandstone blocks still mortared by 900-year-old mud. Moonlight made the ruin resemble a stripped ship hull, ribs exposed. Naomi marked a safe perimeter, stepped over a collapsed threshold, and crouched on what once was kiva flooring. The recorder's card showed 6 hours free. She planted a little tripod, pressed REC, and retreated to the north wall so her breathing wouldn't color the take. Silence swallowed the red LED. Wind sighed once through an upper corner gap, then died. Naomi's pulse, loud moments earlier, drifted outside her body until she forgot it was hers. Data gathering rarely felt spiritual, yet tonight the ruin wrapped her like a blanket. Ancient block scent, gypsum sparkle, a hush large enough to rest inside. 22:10. A barn owl hooted from the ridge. The meters twitched soft green. She whispered a time code note. Barn owl, 2210, east by 2 degrees. 30 minutes of pristine ambiance already, but curiosity nibbled. Fingertips traced tool grooves in sandstone. The recorder captured a subtle sandpaper hiss. 22 годину, 18 хвилин. A whisper. Vibrant consonants folded inside vowels too round to be English. The meters bobbed again, minus 38 decibels. Whisper repeated. Its origin was impossible to fix. It kissed every wall equally, as if the ruin itself muttered. Naomi killed her headlamp, letting moonlight sharpen edges. Tripod, walls, nothing else. 22:25. Crunch, boot on gravel, outside the south wall. Probably a classmate checking on her. She skirted the recorder and climbed through a breach. Untrampled soil, no flashlight glow. Another crunch inside the kiva, LED still blinking. Footsteps circled the recorder, soft dents puffing dust with each invisible step. Then a second set appeared, smaller, a child pacing the larger prints. Both converged on the tripod. 22:28. The LED flickered off. The recorder had stopped itself. Footsteps ceased. Knees humming, Naomi lunged forward, grabbed the tripod. The screen stayed black, though the battery had shown 83%. Play produced silence. The card listed 0 recordings. Vertigo bent the scene. Walls closed in. The pit felt deeper. A high crystal tone rose behind her left ear, painful, then snapped off. She taped the card slot, reset the recorder, and recorded a shaky test tone, Naomi, 2231. LED steady. Gear packed, she followed her GPS breadcrumb upslope. Halfway to camp, footsteps returned. Silent impressions close enough to press dust. She walked faster, they matched. She jogged, they jogged. The glance showed no shadow but her own. 22 годину 58 хвилин, lanterns glowed at Professor Jew's tent. Naomi burst inside, spilling the story. Footsteps, whisper, vanished files. Jew demanded playback. The card, empty except for one new folder time-stamped 2218, held a single 67-second file titled in unfamiliar glyphs. Silence, then the owl, then Naomi's time-stamped voice. At 34 seconds, the whisper, fragile as quartz wind chimes. Ah-he-he ba hugan. Professor Dorsey, the visiting Navajo ethnographer, translated, blessing for the home. The file ended with heavy breathing not Naomi's, and one sharp word, Neeleen. Her expression drained. That means, I see you. She urged a visit to the Kayenta cultural office. Night excursions were banned. Naomi tried but failed to sleep. Every canvas crease sounded like footsteps. Kayenta Cultural Center, Friday, 11:04. Charlie Big A, cultural liaison, studied the file. Something sings under 40 hertz, he said, showing a spectrum plot, fat sub-bass hum. High-speed playback reveals microtonal phrases. Could be a blessing, but those rarely last exactly 67 seconds. Naomi realized the recorder had shut itself at 2218, exactly 67 seconds after the whisper began. Biggie added, in 1993, 2 teens took a cassette deck to Blue Ruin west of here. When they returned, 4 minutes of tape were missing except for a low chant. They woke with nosebleeds. The council quarantined the tape. Some songs aren't for daylight. He handed Naomi a card. If the site calls again, go with a singer, not a student. Saturday, rest day. Naomi reanalyzed the hum. Mathematically perfect harmonic ratios, energy spikes every 5th band. Quinary encoding. She wrote, is the ruin a standing wave resonator? Who triggers it? She convinced Dorsey to accompany her for a daylight magnetometer sweep, calling it hearth mapping. They kept radio contact. Saturday, 1412. Under blistering sun, the kiva looked harmless. Magnetics revealed 2 hearths and a storage pit. Textbook. The recorder, idling in standby, caught faint double clicks every few seconds. Naomi dismissed them as beetles. Saturday, 1955. A storm front loomed. Camp recalled everyone. Over stew, Dorsey muttered the low hum still haunted his ears. The ruins expect something. Lightning crawled south. Rain peppered canvas at 2200. Naomi lay awake, gear packed, feeling a gravitational pull toward ERM 213. At midnight, the rain stopped as if cut. Lightning backlit the mesa. Wind died. She slipped outside. Sunday, 0027. Thunder distant, full moon returning. Naomi stepped into the kiva. Sand smelled rinsed clean. She set the recorder on a sandstone shelf. Before pressing REC, the silent footprints marched from the south breach, this time darkening the ground as if wet. She backed to the threshold. The recorder's screen lit itself, counting time. A gentle, weather-worn Navajo voice spoke, not whisper, but conversation. Naomi caught fragments. Come, bring, left behind. The prints pulsed faint blue. The clay itself glowed. Her phone buzzed. Dorsey texted, where are you? Hum builds again. She replied, ruin. No response. Blueprints expanded into a spiral. Recorder meters slammed maximum. Naomi's skull rang with the same crystal tone. She dropped to her knees. From the spiral's center, a small figure rose. Child height, ash pale, eyes like embers. Flickering like old film, it held an SD card, her missing card, even though hers was back in camp. The figure placed it on the recorder, stepped away. Blue light blazed. The older unseen voice said once, "Nilindu, Nishwi." "I see," I release. Darkness snapped back. Prints faded, cedar scent returned. The recorder displayed, "New file 0001134. Sunday dawn." The camp, awake from thunder and radio chatter, listened to the new file. Owls, night wind, the aged voice chanting. Underneath, the 40 hertz hum now resolved. Harmonics arced upward, then tapered like a completed chord. A click, then Naomi's own heartbeat. Dorsey translated, "Child wandered, left voice in stone. Voice found, steps return. Home closes, walk in daylight." He smiled. "Close your blessing. Whatever wandered between walls has gone." Professor Jew, half incredulous, half relieved. "The museum can't use that, but your thesis just doubled." Naomi discovered she now possessed 2 identical SD cards. The new one held blue dust. Microscopy later showed azurite granules rare to this strata. Naomi's thesis, Quantum Echoes in Architectural Acoustic Traps, Case Study RM213, survived skeptical peer review after spectral graphs revealed quinary encoding below 40 hertz, structured packets equal to at least 2.4 kilobits of data. A 15-second loop of the resolved chant now plays in the museum. Visitors report a calm hush when exiting the gallery. Since that night, no tent at Black Mesa Ridge hears footsteps. But each spring, equinox lightning skirts the ruin in a perfect circle. As though refracted by glass walls only thunder can see. No student has volunteered for midnight ambience since. Naomi keeps both cards. Sometimes when thunder breaks radio silence, she slips the blue-dusted one into her recorder. It never plays anything, but the LED blinks anyway. Perhaps a child made of moonlight still pressing the red button, reminding her the home blessing holds. Patrol Log 47 opens at 22:04 hours, April 14th. Petrified Forest National Park. A crescent moon hovers low enough to scrape the mesas, and the painted desert looks like spilled charcoal under frost. The south gate has just clanged shut behind my Bronco, so whatever happened tonight began the moment the padlock snapped. The first oddity arrives 12 minutes later. A single rap on the roof, so sharp it jars my rearview mirror. No branches overhead, no hail in the forecast. Yet the cab fills with that metallic hush you get before lightning. The trick of a rock flung from the darkness seems likely until I roll past milepost 3 and spot nothing but open desert. The radio remains silent, but my throat keeps tightening, like an invisible hand reminding me of every ranger who's ever vanished out here. By 2240, the service road forks toward the old Civilian Conservation Corps stone shack. No volunteer claimed the bunk tonight. I signed the vacancy sheet myself. The building should be dark. Instead, a lantern-sized glow flickers in the north window. I kill the engine, coast the last 30 yards, stop with headlights off. Wind slides across the washed-out asphalt, lifting dust into silver ghosts. My flashlight gives a thin beam, more apprehension than light. Inside the shack, the glow dims, then brightens, pulsing like a heartbeat. I step out, boot soles crunching petrified chips. 10 paces from the driver door, I recognize the lantern shape, an old 2-cell flat-bar flashlight, identical to the model retired ranger David Teller used to carry before Cottonwood. wash swallowed him 3 springs ago. The beam swivels, drawing a wide white arc across the inside wall. I call out the standard challenge, "Park service!" The beam cuts off. The shack drops to black. Footsteps shuffle inside, too slow for panic, too deliberate for wildlife. One thought freezes me. If that is a trespasser, he knows enough to kill his light at a ranger's voice. Knowledgeable intruders rank somewhere between poachers and something worse. The door groans open without any visible hand pushing. Moonlight slides across cedar crates and a rusted pot-bellied stove. No figure in the doorway, yet boot prints stamp fresh into the dust, forming one after another as if pressed by unseen feet. They travel backward, deeper into the shack, stopping at a cot in the far corner. I watch the mattress compress, sagging under phantom weight. A baritone voice, warm and familiar, floats out of the dark. "Sit a spell, partner." Night's young. It belongs to Teller, but the intonation is off, vowels stretched like wet leather. I aim my torch at the cot. The flashlight beam warps around an empty depression. Nothing visible absorbs it, yet the cone bends as though hitting dense air. Copper stench floods the room. My lungs tighten. I back onto the porch. The night seems to lean closer. My radio finally crackles. Half syllables, fragments of dispatch code, scrambled numbers. Then Teller's dead voice slides through again, this time from the radio speaker. "Joe, forgot your coffee." Static swallows the rest. There's no instant protocol for a voice that belongs 6 feet under. I retreat to the Bronco, start the engine. Headlights pin the shack. A silhouette now stands in the doorway, ranger hat pulled low, jacket front sagging where Teller's patch used to detach. But the outline hovers an inch above the threshold. Dust coils under empty soles. The shape raises its right hand. Between 2 fingers, it pinches my ceramic coffee mug, green, cracked, the one that's been locked inside the ranger office since Teller's funeral. Steam curls from its rim, even though the night breathes 48 degrees. The grin under the hat brim widens, white like weather-bleached fossil, too many teeth. My high beams flicker. Electrical systems complain, dash lights strobing. Static climbs the frequency dial until speakers rattle. The silhouette mouths words. The radio translates them in Teller's voice. "Bring it back to the river. You still owe me." Suddenly, something slams the Bronco's rear quarter panel. I spin the wheel, headlights sweep empty desert, show nothing. Another hit, driver's side now, dense metal inward. The hair on my arms lifts. I gun the throttle. Gravel sprays, the silhouette shrinks in the mirror, lantern glow swelling like a lung behind it. At milepost 5, my breath finally slows. Stars return to normal distance. I swing the Bronco around for a second pass. Protocol demands visual confirmation of any threat inside park boundaries. Halfway back, the road dips. Headlights touch the shack roofline and instantly cut out. The engine wheezes, dies. Momentum drags me forward until the Bronco coasts to a stop facing the building. No glow in the window now. Everything dark. I flick the key. Starter grinds, fails. Again. Third time the engine coughs alive, but the dashboard shows no readings. Speed, oil pressure, battery, all zero. A thump sounds on the roof, identical to the one that began the night. Another on the hood. I lean forward. A handprint blooms on the windshield from the inside, print of quartz dust outlined by oily black residue. The radio spits more static, then spits my name backward, syllables reversed. I yank the mic cord, toss it. The windshield handprint begins to sink, fingers stretching as if melting. I slam the accelerator. The The Bronco jolts forward. Gauges flicker to life. I run the service road all the way to the park administration lot without slowing. Inside the main office, the security monitor bank glows. Camera feeds from trailhead, gate, visitor center show nothing unusual. Feed 4, mounted on the shack, should be dark, but instead I see Teller's silhouette under the porch light, mug still steaming. The figure looks directly into the lens. Pixels crawl, glitch. The feed pauses, then rewinds itself 10 seconds, then plays forward again. He lifts a hand, 2 fingers beckon. I mash the recording button, but the system stalls. A warning icon says drive full, yet last week it was empty. I unplug the hard drive to preserve evidence. Cooling fans wind down, monitors fade. When the room blacks out, the temperature drops as if someone opened a deep freeze. I fumble for my flashlight. As the beam strikes the wall, dust prints appear. Boot soles marching from the door straight toward me, each print sinking an inch into linoleum. At the desk, the radio, now disconnected, growls alive. Inventory falling over. Better secure it. I bolt outside. Wind has died. The desert feels hollow. Sky like a lid lowering. I text backup request to Ranger Lead Martinez. Possible intruder. Need eyes on shack. The sending circle spins, never resolves. My phone vibrates. Unknown caller. I answer. Dead air. Then rushing water, and Teller whispers, "Cottonwood's up again." Call cuts. At 3 a.m., I wave down Colt Yazzy's pickup. His dog Ranger leaps from the bed, fur puffed, teeth bared at shadows. We approach the shack with Colt's high beams slicing the dark. Doors still ajar. Interior calm. My mug sits on the cot, stone cold, empty. No footprints now. The floor gleams clean, swept of dust. On the desk, blank pages of patrol logbook lie open. The top sheet shows fresh ink. Midnight coffee tasted bitter. Joe promised a refill when the river calms. Ink matches Teller's handwriting. Colt refuses to enter farther. Ranger growls, hackles rigid. We back out, slam the door, drive to the south gate, chain it twice. By 4:10, I'm filing log 47. The office lights hiss overhead. The hard drive I unplugged earlier clicks, despite having no power source. Each click sounds like river stones knocking. At 4:55, I return to the shack in daylight to photograph evidence. Cedar needles, charred at the tips, lie in a perfect ring where the silhouette first stood. Inside, my mug has vanished, replaced by a smooth limb of petrified wood shaped unsettlingly like a human jaw. The patrol log page has added a second line in the same dated ink. Coffee's still hot. Meet me at the shack, midnight. I tear the sheet free, lock it in an evidence bag. Sun climbs, wind returns. Everything smells normal again. Management can blame exhaustion. They can claim I fell asleep at the shack, dreamed the lantern, the handprint, the voice radio can't transmit. Maybe they'll order a stress eval, relegate me to interpretive services. Fine. They didn't sit alone while a dead ranger tried to hand back a mug we buried with him. They didn't hear river water pouring through a disconnected phone. Tonight, the moon will wane to a hook of bone. Same as the night Cottonwood Wash came alive. If Teller's silhouette stands at the shack again, I won't enter. The desert can keep its ghosts, its cedar rings, its borrowed voices. It already knows where mine will break. And if you drive the service road after hours and someone in a broad brim hat signals you for coffee, keep your headlights on him, but never stop. Some debts were meant to drown. And the park, every petrified log, every painted hill, remembers who tried to pay late. My name is Daniel Begay. And 2 summers ago, I swore I'd never guide another after-hours hike to Spider Rock. The canyon still sends tourists my way, but I hand them off to the new rangers and drive home before sunset. Because the last time I lingered, the canyon told me goodbye in my own voice, and almost meant it. I'd spent the day herding a busload of geology students along the rim trails, pointing out Permian crossbedding and ancient footpaths. By 5:30, they were gone. The visitor center lot empty, except for one dusty rental Jeep and its single passenger. Clarissa Barrett, doctoral candidate in cultural anthropology and, apparently, a professional procrastinator. She waved a permit that expired at midnight. I need a twilight view of Spider Rock for my thesis photos. Just 30 minutes at the overlook. The light, the alignment with Venus. Tonight is my only shot. A storm of sandstone dust swirled up the road behind the Jeep. The park gate would close in an hour. No ranger wanted overtime. Clarissa's eyes were so earnest, and I'd never lost anyone. So I threw my pack in her trunk and told myself one last tour wouldn't hurt. We reached the head of White House Trail as the sun dropped into haze. Clarissa balanced her tripod on one shoulder, zigzagging down switchbacks while sketching cliff lines in a leather notebook. I kept pace, reciting the usual cautions. Watch for scree, stay hydrating, no stones thrown over rims. There are people and spirits down there. Halfway down, the wind shifted from west to north, and the desert smelled like rain-wet copper. Clarissa inhaled sharply. "Smells electric," she whispered. I nodded. Copper in the air often means lightning is hunting ground. By the time we reached the canyon floor, dusk had painted the twin spires of Spider Rock in bruised violet. Clarissa rushed ahead, camera clicking. I hung back at the base of a cottonwood whose trunk bore a blackened lightning scar. My grandmother calls that kind of tree Nazca, split on one side but still alive. A spirit doorway. I touched the bark anyway, more habit than prayer. Clarissa positioned herself on a sandstone slab and asked me to stand 10 feet behind her, just to give scale. The first shot took, the second misfired with a jagged burst of white across the viewfinder. Clarissa cursed and fiddled with the lens. I heard my own voice chuckle behind me. "Easy there, Dan. No hurry." I spun. No one stood on the ledge. Clarissa frowned. "Did you say something?" I shook my head. Already the canyon air felt too still. Sound carried too clearly in stillness. We packed up the tripod. Clarissa glanced longingly at the stars. 5, then 50, then 1,000 freckles across an obsidian sky. "We should head back," I said. She nodded, but her eyes lingered on the spires. 1 minute more. She stepped away, scribbling notes. I knelt to cinch my bootlace, then heard myself again, farther up canyon now, softer, as though I'd walked ahead without my body. "Clarissa, this way. Faster path." She looked up, confused. "You already started back." I felt every hair rise. "I'm right here." The night swallowed our breath. Cottonwood leaves froze mid-rustle. The cricket wall of sound collapsed into silence. From the canyon bend came my voice a third time, perfectly calm. "Goodbye, Dan." Clarissa's camera strap squeaked against her jacket as she pivoted. "Why would you say goodbye?" "That wasn't me." Lightning flickered, white without thunder, illuminating Spider Rock in negative. A silhouette crouched on a sandstone shelf 15 yards ahead, my exact height and outline, elbows resting on knees like I do when scanning trails. When the after image faded, the shelf was empty. Clarissa whispered, "You hired an actor, right?" I grabbed her elbow and started brisk walking. "Stay behind me. No matter what you hear, do not answer." The moon had barely risen, a sliver too thin to help. I kept my flashlight low to preserve night vision. Boots crunched in rhythm. Ours, and then a third set matching stride. Somewhere above, on the switchback we hadn't reached yet, gravel shifted in equal measure. "Coyotes follow people too," Clarissa offered, voice brittle. "Coyotes don't copy footfalls," I said. The canyon inhaled. Far off, rockfall rattled. A dozen small stones tumbling, then stopping mid-clatter as though caught mid-air. My duplicate voice called again. Closer. "Stride shorter, she's tired." Clarissa's breath hitched. She squeezed my pack straps so hard my collarbone ached. I whispered the only protection prayer I half remembered from childhood. "Ahu omwe niha shikadiu." Let moonlight dress us in ash. The path narrowed at a point locals call the Sister's Elbow. I knew a side drainage there, steep, hard to climb, but shorter. As we turned into the cut, Clarissa tripped on a root and fell. The camera skidded into darkness. She whimpered, "My research." "Leave it," I said. But she crawled for the strap. I dug my heel in to pivot back and met myself face to face. Or rather, my own unmistakable silhouette blocking the drainage mouth. Only the eyes were wrong, moon white, rimmed in yellow fire. The double cocked its head, its jaw unhinged slightly wider than human. And in a gravel and honey copy of my cadence, it said, "Farewell, Daniel. They need you on the other side of the rock." Lightning strobed again. For a split second, the thing's legs bent backwards at the knee, hands lengthened into claws darker than the night around them. The flash died. When vision cleared, the path was clear. Clarissa had the camera back. She pointed beyond me. "Is it gone?" "Moving pipes," I lied. "Keep climbing." We scrambled switchbacks. Each bend cut a sharper grade. Each echo of our boots came back double. Twice my voice shouted from behind a boulder, "Wrong turn." I ignored it. After the third taunt, Clarissa's voice mimicked mine in a panic. "Help me." Except Clarissa was ahead of me and silent. On the final rise before the rim lot, a juniper branch snapped. Something stepped onto the trail so close, I smelled dust and rawhide. Clarissa screamed. My flashlight beam caught rag-stitched skin stretched across shifting ribs. The light flared, then guttered as batteries died. I grabbed Clarissa's sleeve and shoved her onward. A hot gust slammed our backs. Claws raked stone inches from my boot. The visitor center floodlight, set to motion sensor, blazed awake at the parking lot lip. The creature halted where darkness ended, pacing left and right like a frenzied dog chained to shadow. Clarissa collapsed on pavement. I yanked the Jeep keys from her pocket, hit unlock, dragged her inside. Headlamps lit the trail. The creature retreated behind a piñon, eyes glowing, still speaking in my voice too quietly for words. Rangers chalked the incident up to dehydration hallucination, faulty equipment, cultural suggestion. Clarissa's camera card showed every still except the last two. Those contained only static and a timestamp 1 hour in the future. I resigned the next day. Clarissa emailed once to ask if I'd ever been farther than the canyon the voice described. The other side of the rock. I deleted the message. Last week, at 3:03 a.m., my phone chimed. One new voicemail. Playback revealed my voice, strained, wind over the mic, whispering, "Farewell, Daniel. Trail's waiting." The timestamp says it was recorded tomorrow night. I blocked the number, crushed the SIM, and still the canyon's breath seems to rattle at my bedroom door. If you walk Spider Rock at twilight and you hear your own farewell before you speak it, do not answer. The canyon is only practicing your goodbye. The vacancy sign at the Roadrunner Lodge flickered like a broken eyelid the night I rolled into Kayenta. 23 straight hours on Highway 160 had pried open a hairline crack of exhaustion behind my eyes, and the glowing letters, VACY, felt like a private dare to finish the word before my forehead met the steering wheel. I parked under a buzzing sodium lamp, cut the engine, and sat for a minute, watching blowing sand skate across the asphalt. April wind here smells of rust, sage, and something older, like water that evaporated before anyone could drink it. At reception, a sleepy teenager slid me a key fob attached to a bent turquoise feather charm. Room 27, second floor, end of the row. Non-smoking, ma'am. Adjoining doors locked from both sides. You'll have the wall to yourself. The promise of solitude sounded perfect. I was a geologic survey contractor, 6 days behind schedule, carrying a laptop full of draft maps and an ulcer that burped coffee acid whenever deadlines stacked. All I wanted was 8 hours of blackout sleep, then Monument Valley at sunrise. Room 27 greeted me with threadbare carpet, a whooping swamp cooler, and that universal roadside motel fragrance of lemon disinfectant, fighting lifetime cigarette ghosts. The adjoining door sat just left of the dresser, one of those flimsy accordion things framed by beaten-up molding. Someone had wedged a wobbly chair against it, for good measure. I showered, wolfed vending machine peanut butter crackers, set the alarm for 5 a.m., and killed the lights. Wind worried the eaves. The cooler coughed. Bed springs pitched a lullaby of complaint every time I shifted. Eventually, I drifted. Knock. Not on the main door. The hollow plastic drum pop came from the thin wall 2 feet behind my pillow. I woke mid-dream, heart sprinting. The room's reed-thin nightlight cast enough glow to show the adjoining door unmoved, chair still braced. A second knock. 3 short taps, knuckles not woodpecker. Almost polite. Probably the teen clerk after hours, I rationalized. Maybe room 26 got double booked and someone confused doors? I cleared my throat. "No vacancy," I called, aiming for humor. Silence. I rolled over. Knock, knock. Same rhythm. Then a pause, like the visitor was thinking, followed by 2 more taps, slower, as if tapping out a question mark. I sat up. Front desk closed. Come back tomorrow. No answer. I stared at the flimsy barrier. The chair back wiggled as though a draft had found it, yet the swamp cooler had cycled off during sleep. The air sat still as texture paint. My phone read 1:47 a.m. If I didn't shut this down, the alarm would arrive in what felt like 5 minutes. I shoved the chair aside, slid the accordion door an inch. Darkness filled the crack. No hallway light because there was no hallway. Only the mirror layout of room 26. Hello? The darkness breathed heat into my face, stuffy, like exhaled air. My finger groped the 2-way bolt. Still vertical, locked. I closed the gap, rolled the chair back, tuned my exhaustion into anger, and buried my head under a pillow. I made it 10 minutes. Scrape. The chair skated an inch toward me. Pulled, not pushed. Tap, tap, tap on the wall. Higher this time, closer to the ceiling. Knock wasn't the right word. It sounded like bone-clicking masonry. I snapped on the bedside lamp. Plaster above the door flexed inward, bulging like a lung. Tiny puffs of dust sifted down. And then, in a low conversational tone that mimicked a neighbor calling through drywall, a voice cooed, "Map's nearly done." The blood left my arms. That was my own voice. Same pitch, same rasp of fatigue. The bulge withdrew. Silence reclaimed the plaster. A reasonable adult would evacuate. Instead, I pulled on jeans, grabbed my field flashlight, and yanked the main door open to march next door. Room 26's knob sat shiny and untouched. No do not disturb, no scuffs in the dust lining the sill. I knocked, real-world wood thuds. No answer. I pressed my ear. The room sounded like a coffin. Zero airflow, zero mechanical hum. The master pass key from reception weighed heavy in my pocket. Clerks leave them for survey crews in case we lock ourselves out. I told myself this was still rational. Document disturbance for a refund, rescue sleep. Key slid, lock turned. The door cracked open. Heat rolled out, 10 degrees warmer than the breezeway. A single lamp on the far nightstand glowed sickly orange. Sheets on the nearest bed lay folded hospital tight. The second bed remained turned down perfect. Empty closet. Bathroom door open, mirror reflecting only wall. But the adjoining door to my room stood wide. My chair now rested inside room 26, jammed against my side of the frame as though bracing the opening from that direction. Dust footprints. Bare, toe heavy like an eager child. Tracked from the adjoining doorway across the carpet, ending at the far lamp. The lamp's on switch dangled, broken from its stem, yet the bulb burned. I backed out, locked up, returned to room 27. My adjoining door was still closed, bolt vertical. Chair missing, of course, retrieved by whatever had borrowed my voice. I wedged the writing desk across the accordion folds, stacked suitcase on desktop, added cooler filter grate for noise alarm. Sleep now impossible. I opened the laptop to jot a report. Screen booted to last night's topographic file, red scribbles marking fault lines. The map sprouted a new annotation I didn't create. You missed a line curling along the canyon ravine. Laptop disconnected from Wi-Fi. No one could remote in. I closed the lid. Floorboards, no, the carpet beneath them, vibrated like distant machinery. From the ceiling corner came soft scratching, like graphite sketching circles. Dust rained whisper light onto the dresser. I climbed the bed, shone flashlight upward. The popcorn texture had been disturbed, scratches forming a spiral about a foot across. At its center, a fingertip emerged. No arm, just a single finger of bone-pale skin, poking through as though the attic were thinning. It tapped twice, gently considerate. Instinct tore me backward. The fingertip withdrew. Spiral scratches stopped. The surveyor in me wanted a sample. The mammal in me wanted a border wall. Mammal 1. I shoved belongings into my duffel, glanced at the clock, 3:06 a.m. If I left now, I could clear Kayenta before dawn. I slung the duffel, killed the light, lifted suitcase from the barricade. Knock. Loud enough to rattle the light bulb. Not from the door, this time from inside the dresser drawers. Wood joints groaned. Top drawer slid out an inch. The air smelled of cedar again, edged with hot metal tang like microwaved pennies. Drawer jerked open another inch. In the gap, I glimpsed map pages, copies of mine, folded tight, covered in ash-gray fingerprints. The pages fluttered, though no air moved. On their surface, my own handwriting scrawled backward, letters racing right to left. Finish the fault. Snap decision, abandon everything. Grab keys, exit. Main door unlatched, hallway black except exit sign bleeding red. I didn't bother with checkout. Down the stairs, across the lot, into the rental. Engine sputtered. Cold desert nights treat fuel injectors mean. But started. I pulled onto Highway 160. In the rearview mirror, Roadrunner Lodge kept its lights off. Yet every second-floor window glowed faint amber, each with a silhouette staring out. Some tall, some bent, their edges fuzzy like heat mirage. None waved. 30 miles east, dawn bled pink. I eased its scenic turnout, cracked thermos coffee, tried rationalization. Maybe carbon monoxide leakage from swamp cooler? But carbon monoxide doesn't write notes in reversed script. Cell signal returned. I scrolled Kayenta Lodge reviews. One from last month. Room 27, strange knocks. Heard my own voice asking if I'd forgotten something. Checked out early. Another from 2 years ago. Different username. Room 26. Voices through unlocked door. Dreamt I was scribbling maps. 10 reviews in as many years echoed the complaint. The motel changed owners 4 times. Yet rooms 26 and 27 never got renovations. That afternoon, the deadline ulcer won. I opened the laptop at a campground. The rogue annotation still skirted the canyon. Against pride, I ran calcs. Turned out the line predicted a hidden fault scarp my LiDAR pass had missed. A perfect fit. I added it. Saved. The screen blinked once, almost a nod. Cedar scent drifted under the tent flap, though no trees grew for miles. I'll pass Kayenta on the drive back next week. Room 27 will probably be vacant, and I'm almost curious what the ceiling spiral looks like by daylight. But I'll keep driving, because maps can't afford gratitude. And when a wall knocks gently in your own voice, you either finish the line it points at, or you never lay pencil to paper again. My name is Isaac Yazzie, born 3 mesas east of Canyon to Chelly, the land my grandmother calls Tseyi, inside the rock. For 7 seasons, I guided hikers here and believed the canyon loved me back. Last October, it whispered my name and kept something I can never replace. Riley, Marcus, and Trey clattered into the visitor center lot an hour before sunset. Riley, the photojournalist, wore a battered Nikon and smelled faintly of stop bath. Marcus, long-limbed and loud, laughed at his own punchlines. Trey, a peach ice vaping YouTube daredevil, live-streamed every step. They wanted the forbidden ledge above Spider Rock that glows blood red for exactly 64 seconds each October. We jogged the switchbacks while Trey slapped number Skinwalker Country on his feed. We reached the shelf with half a minute to spare. Sandstone ignited rust, then violet. A wind rose from the canyon floor, hot, metallic, as if someone opened a furnace below. Trey whistled Country Roads. The canyon answered an octave lower, each note in reverse. Marcus whooped, but gooseflesh crept up my arms. Echoes never return lower. When the sun winked out, the warmth vanished. Shadows stretched like cold fingers. We scrambled to Juniper Flats, a cottonwood island half a mile downslope, and pitched 2 dome tents on pale sand, freckled with ancestral potsherds. I murmured an apology to the people who had once eaten from the shards beneath our boots. Riley struck a spark. Juniper smoke rose, carrying the scent of Grandma's winter stove. Marcus unpacked a half-melted bag of marshmallows. He skewered one on a trekking pole tip, rotated it over the flames until the sugar blistered. The char hissed, the air sweetened against the reek of burning mesquite chips Trey tossed on for ambiance. Stars multiplied overhead until the sky looked bruised with light. Marcus clinked his spork on the titanium mug. Guide's tax. Story time. Something the park rangers redact. Riley raised her Nikon. Give me footage Reddit hasn't poisoned. Trey swung his phone like a spotlight, REC light blinking red. I stirred the coals. All right, but you asked. We whisper about Yitnaldlushi, skinwalkers. Witches who trade kin for power. They wear hides, shift shapes, run faster than thought, and lure you by copying the voice you trust most. They keep the voice after they keep the body. Marcus snorted. Free solo witches. Perfect clickbait. Trey pointed his phone into the dark and shouted, Yo, Mr. Skinwalker, collab request. His words returned instantly from the cottonwoods behind us. His exact cadence, same crooked grin inside every syllable. Collab request. Nobody laughed. Even the embers seemed to flinch. Firelight crawled over a petroglyph panel I swear hadn't existed an hour earlier. 6 stone faces, mouths frozen wide as if mid-scream. We doused the fire and zipped into tents, pretending nylon was armor. Wind struck once, then silence settled so deep our heartbeats felt impolite. Gravel ticked, 4 heavy steps, a pause, 2 lighter taps, biped to quadruped and back again. A whisper brushed the fabric above my head. Isaac, the stars are bright tonight. It was Riley's voice, yet Riley's breath wheezed against my shoulder. I gripped her wrist. She woke fast. Coyotes? Marcus hissed from the other tent. Coyotes don't borrow voices, I said. No one slept. Footfalls circled for hours, sometimes crawling, sometimes skipping like a child. The canyon felt eager, jaws opening wider with every heartbeat. First, gray bled into the sky. We broke camp in a frantic silence. Trey's flashlight flickered, then died. Batteries scattered across the sand. Darkness slammed down. In it, our own overlapping laughs erupted from opposite cliffs, shredded like radio static. The spare batteries clicked in. Trey's beam returned, trembling. Battery brand deal, never again, he muttered. Dust coated my tongue like bitter cornmeal. Every breath scraped raw. Spit it out, Marcus coughed, hawking grit onto his boot. The canyon answered with 3 wet coughs, each pitched higher, as if it enjoyed the taste of our lungs. Trey steadied his phone. The screen displayed 4 hikers, though the trail held only 3. A child's giggle pinballed between walls, multiplying into a playground trapped in stone. Trey whispered, audio glitch. But fear rasped inside the words. The wash funneled into a slot so narrow the walls almost kissed overhead. Stone screamed, nails dragged like chalk. My beam froze on a shape clinging upside down, knees bending the wrong way, face a mask of stitched hides. Its grin split into 4 as it poured down the rock like tar. We ran. The creature galloped behind, switching from knuckles to feet in manic rhythm. At a shallow alcove, we wedged ourselves under a leaning boulder, panting. Outside, footsteps paced. Then the monster spoke in my own voice, calm and coaxing. Isaac, it's safe now. Bring them out. When it realized we weren't fooled, claws raked stone like a knife over porcelain. Sparks arced, sulfur stung the air. We bolted before the roof collapsed. A fork split the slot. Marcus veered left. Shortcut! Wrong way, I yelled, but he vanished. A scream tore the air. cut short like someone yanked a cassette tape. Riley sobbed once, swallowed it, and kept running. Half a minute later, the path pinched again. Riley staggered, blood shining where shale had skinned her knee. "It's my fault," she gasped. "Marcus posted a reel mocking the canyon, said nothing's sacred down here." I hauled her upright. The canyon surely heard him brag. Light flared ahead. We burst onto White House Overlook. 600 feet of nothing yawned beyond a chest-high rail. Sun finally cleared the far rim, gilding the world. The creature loped to the shadow's edge, pacing like a wolf behind an invisible fence. Sunlight licked its patchwork skin. Smoke curled, carrying the stink of burnt hair. Riley lifted her Nikon. Flash fries film. Maybe it fries nightmares. The first strobe peeled a sheet of hide. Ash fluttered away like gray petals. The monster shrieked, but held its ground. In my mother's gentle Navajo cadence, it called, "Shiyaji, bring your friends." I ground blue corn. Warm cedar ash and corn mush smells flooded my head. My feet inched forward. Riley shoulder-checked me. "That isn't your mother." She fumbled fresh batteries. The creature sprang. I scooped hot sand, spat into it, flung the sludge, Grandma's cleansing rite. Smoke hissed where it struck. Riley's second flash blasted a crater in its torso. A third tore the grin away. The monster caved inward, collapsing into gray dust the wind inhaled over the abyss. Silence slammed shut. Riley dropped to her knees, tears carving tracks through ash on her cheeks. For 10 heartbeats, the sunrise felt like absolution. Until the canyon tossed back my own shaking dawn prayer, warped into a choir of low voices. Marcus emerged from the slot, limping, blood soaking one pant leg. It used Trey's voice? "Where's Trey?" Ice pooled in my stomach. Trey had never come out. A howl spiraled up the gorge. Trey's voice twisted with something feral, pleading, laughing, pleading again. Marcus lunged toward the rail as though he could leap into the void and drag our friend home. I tackled him. We wrestled until the echo faded into bright, merciless wind. We limped the 2 miles to the trailhead. In my truck cab, only the engine and Riley's muffled sobs filled the silence all the way to Chelly. Rangers found Trey's shattered phone case and footprints that ended mid-stride. They wrote, "Missing presumed fatal." Riley erased her SD cards. Marcus quit climbing and scrubbed every post. I buried the incident beneath paperwork. Grief gnawed by day. Terror chewed the dark. Sometimes mirrors showed 4 silhouettes behind me. I triple-locked my Flagstaff apartment and dusted cedar ash along every sill like Grandma taught. 2 weeks ago, at 1:17 a.m., my phone chimed. One new photo, date stamped tomorrow. It showed me asleep, a tall, stitched skin figure leaning over my pillow behind the curtain. Vapor frosted the glass. 3 slow knocks tapped the pane. I did not draw the curtain. I did not sleep. Grandma says echoes never die in saying. They drift beyond it, wearing the voices and faces they've stolen, searching for walls thin enough to slip through. So remember, if a canyon throws your words back lower than you spoke them, or you hear your mother's laugh where she isn't, run toward full sunlight, fling cedar ash behind you, and never answer a whistle that climbs uphill. Some collaborations cost more than clicks, and Spider Rock still aches to finish Trey's song.